All right, we are live here with John Mizzoni and Patrick Bennett of TxnLab. Nice to see you guys.
Hey guys.
Hey man.
All right, well, it's great to have you. I'm sure the audience appreciates having you here as well. And let's just jump right into it. So, could you just give me a quick explanation of who you are, how you got into the space, and then what you're working on? What is Transaction Lab and NFDs attempting to achieve? I
Sure.
guess
Yeah.
Do you want to
whoever
take it or
wants
do
to
you want to
start
take
that
it?
off.
Yeah, Patrick, you can go first.
All
Awesome.
right. Yeah, I've been a software engineer for quite a while. Been into crypto, not real. I mean, back when Bitcoin kind of came out, kind of geeked out on it a little bit, but unfortunately didn't really set up a miner or invest in it at the time. But let's say most recently got heavily into it again about 2.5 years ago. And there's a variety of events. Stumbled on Algorand and started on quite a journey from there, digging in deep into Algorand, running a node, looking at all the source code. Yeah, so that's how I've kind of gotten back into things. But did a lot with Bitcoin, Ethereum, but now I'm pretty much just a hardcore Algorand guy.
Awesome. And how about you, John?
Yeah, my crypto journey started like 2018-ish. I took a class at my university on Bitcoin and blockchain, and that was like kind of my first introduction to it. I didn't know much about it really beforehand, but that kid was pretty cool. He was a BTC maxi, so he was like super like decentralized everything. So I think that was like kind of I kind of like vibed with that, like right off the bat. And then he also showed us OpenSea, which was like, pretty much changed my life, like around like the 2019, 2020 era, of like, CryptoKitties and stuff like that. So I was like, BTC, ETH, mainly participating in ETH, but I held a little BTC. And then I like played around with like shitcoin and stuff like that. But really it wasn't until this year, like I think January or February, when I found Algorand. I just found it on Reddit. I can't even remember the actual post. But then I was like, okay, this is a great chain. I want to mint an NFT on it. I figured out how to mint an NFT on it. We went to go post it up to give it away. Couldn't give it away. Couldn't give it away on the Algorand channel. They wouldn't let us. So we posted, I just created a Reddit, and that started like my whole journey into Algorand. Like I started in NFT Reddit, and now I'm here like 7 months later, essentially, after, quite a journey. So
Yep.
yeah.
That's really cool that you say NFTs are what brought you into the space. I mean, it makes sense, especially when you look at all the other blockchains. If you're interested in NFT, and it's very cheap, very quick to mint and sell and trades. It's got quite a good NFT ecosystem burgeoning currently. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that. Gabriel in the comments said, "Nice shirt."
Yeah, he would say that.
Of course, it is obviously. Well, it's a perfect
Gabriel.
segue.
Gabriel's on our team. If you didn't know,
Yep. And
he designed the logo.
oh, he did. I didn't know he designed the logo, so that's cool. It is a nice shirt, Gabriel. So that is a perfect segue into what is Transaction Lab. I suppose we'll start with you, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Transaction Lab at this point is just a development company. We're basically a small development shop currently focusing on Algorand, and our first product happens to be non-fungible domains, NFDs.
Okay,
That's
awesome.
that's the short of it.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
So what are NFDs? What are non-fungible domains?
So basically, non-fungible domains are basically, I think people are familiar with ENS or unsolvable domains. Basically, it's kind of trying to, where they're trying to kind of mirror DNS in a sense in people's minds onto a decentralized infrastructure. And there's some kind of hand waving about that that's not entirely truthful. But I think the NFD angle is basically looking at it more as you have this distinct, unique, guaranteed unique piece of identity that can be used also for utility. That in a sense kind of mirrors NFTs. And so I think that's why we really like the NFD angle, and pointing out the fact that if you have, say, Patrick.algo, that represents a guaranteed unique piece of identity that no one else can ever have, and is basically one of one, guaranteed unique. It's not like, one of a bunch of different, it's not an NFT that there's one of 500 or there's slight, variations. There's just that one name, and it's very easily verifiable as guaranteed unique on the chain. I think there's a lot of power in that, and there's a lot of utility that can be driven from having that single distinct identity that you own.
Awesome. Do you have anything to add to that, John?
Yeah, no, I would love to add just on the NFT angle of what an NFT is. So it's like ownership of identity, right? Like you go to a DApp, for example, and all you have as your identity is your wallet address. So this is just a way to abstract your identity and make it more personalized. If you want it more personalized, it doesn't have to be. Like you could make it, blackcoffee.algo, right? That could be your address. Nobody would know who that is unless you dox yourself, right? So it's the same risk as if you were to dox a wallet address anyways. But here you can make it a little easier to not do that because you actually have human readable names, so just for example, JT Invest is much easier to send algo to than, your 58, character long address, your wallet address. So that's what and then there's all kinds of stuff you can kind of like do with this personalization and utility that we can get into maybe.
Yeah, I'd love to get into it. Now, I think it's a great idea because a big problem with adoption is the terrifying idea of sending your crypto to somebody and messing it up and have it be gone and lost forever. Even when I copy and paste a wallet address into something, I'm still triple checking all of the numbers, making sure that for some reason, the computer didn't copy it wrong. So it would be really nice to just be like, okay, John.algo, here's 10 algo, super simple.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really mess that up. Obviously you can if you spell John wrong or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
a lot harder to mess up than a string of, as you said, 56 random or seemingly random letters and numbers.
100%. And it's not, just even like talking to someone over the phone or something, right? You're not going to give them a 58 character string over the phone.
Yep.
It basically forces you to copy and paste or email or text or something the address, whereas you could just verbally say, send it to patrick.algo.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of flexibility and power in that, particularly in, potentially even, business circumstances, right? Because you could have businesses could have deposit addresses with their business name.
Yeah, of course. Now, John mentioned, you don't have to obviously put your own name. It can be a nickname. It could be any identifier that doesn't reveal your real identity. But one of the concerns I did have with a service like that is that eventually we would begin to lose some of the anonymity within crypto, or the pseudo-anonymity or whatever within crypto, because it's not completely anonymous since obviously everything's public on a ledger. Is this anything that concerns you? Oh, my light
Well,
just
that
went
was
off.
sick.
But
I like that.
I'm sure that won't be an issue, but I don't know why that light just went out.
No, I like it. Yeah, no, so it's really just like Algorand is a public blockchain, right? It's not
Yep.
like Monero or something that obscures like transactions. But the best you can really do, right, is not associate yourself or any of your known wallets with like a wallet that you're trying to keep private. And so our service really isn't designed to like help with this. Like you would still need to be, you know, safe to not mix wallets that you don't want revealed. That's just a general issue with public blockchains, I would say. But where we help is like if you do want a personalized identity on the blockchain, which a lot of people do, like a
Yeah.
lot of people like they like associating, say, their NFT gallery with themselves, right? Like they don't want maybe their cold storage wallet, you know,
Yeah.
but that could be the black coffee.algo, right? Like your cold storage could be some random term that nobody knows is you, nobody's associating it with anybody. And, you know, you just to and from exchange. That's all you do with that wallet. But then like your hot wallets could be, you know, JT Invest, or yeah.
Yeah, makes complete sense, honestly. So that'll just bring me to the next question. Will NFT be a decentralized and open source platform, or will it be closed sourced?
Well, I mean, kind of both. I mean, to
Okay.
a certain extent, with a blockchain, smart contracts are all visible, right? There's no like intentionally, there's no hiding that, right? So all smart contracts involved, and there are a fair number and fairly involved ones, will all be visible. They have to be. Um, but we'll obviously have a lot of back end services for NF domains, and then that will be closed source. But the actual Algorand contracts, all of that will be public. The the ways in which you find and access and manipulate NFDs will all be documented, and then there will also be public APIs, because it's like the on-chain way of finding an NFT and reading its properties is somewhat involved. Part of that is due to the Algorand a little bit, but there will also be public APIs. So things like the Algorand wallet, Algo Explorer, things like that, parts of the ecosystem, I would fully expect them to stay at our APIs. But the on-chain, on-chain mechanisms will all still be there and be present. So it's you wouldn't be relying on our services to get the data. It's all on-chain.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, is NFTs just for wallet addresses, or are you also trying to tackle like domain addresses and maybe shorten up really
Yeah,
long addresses like IPFS addresses that are super long strings of
yeah.
numbers as well?
That's definitely the plan. Like, so basically the contracts for NFDs, we will, in Algorand, you have to request up front the storage that you need. So each NFD will cost like 3.2 algo minimum just for the storage requirements. So like 3.6 or something between all combined. And so we'll basically allow a lot of different properties to be set. So imagine, things like your avatar, your bio, your email address, your Twitter handle, all sorts of basic profile information, as well as kind of user-defined fields you'd be able to set there. You'll be able to have multiple Algorand account addresses associated, full forward lookup, going from a name, a name to get addresses, and going from doing a reverse lookup of addresses back to name, which I don't think anyone really else handles that actually. So there's some nice things there. But yeah, the intent definitely is also for a URL. You could put a URL in there, and that could be an IPFS hash or a full link. And then ultimately, we would have like a browser extension in the same way Unstoppable Domains does, if you wanted to add that and resolve URLs that way.
Oh, that'd be really awesome. Honestly, that sounds much more exciting than just simply changing a wallet address, even though that
Oh
alone.
yeah, this definitely goes well beyond just a name and address.
I
And I
I think
think
that's what a lot of people think of when they hear it. So it's like we can understand how it's going to help with adoption, but it's almost maybe not that sexy or of a topic. But honestly, the way you just described it now just makes it like tenfold more exciting than when I was even reading up on it.
Well, we'll think on the reverse lookup. Think about that, right? So now just looking at Algo Explorer, as you see transactions popping up, I would expect and hope. We need to talk to the TxnLab guys. I don't know why they wouldn't support it. But when you see those addresses, there's no you would instead see Patrick.algo sent this or Patrick.algo received this, right? And so in the same way right now, where they have Coinbase or Binance or Algorand 2 or Algorand 3 addresses that they've kind of got hard coded on their side, there's no reason whatsoever all that couldn't be supplanted by NFDs. And so I would I intend to have a lot of kind of reserved NFDs for things like exchanges, and we would just seed exchange addresses with NFD forward and forward and reverse lookups.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it would be kind of unfortunate if the first mover just bought up all the exciting domain names and then just auctioned them off to the highest bidder. So that's,
I mean, that's part of another issue with some, if you went truly decentralized, it's a problem and a risk with domain type services or land grabs.
Yep.
You end up with the registrar at the end of the day. It's just like, do you want an honest actor as the registrar, or do you want somebody who just bought up all the domains for like 200 algo at the very beginning and then, is selling them on AB2 or something like that? I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, that's awesome. So when will the domain service go live? So like, when will I be able to buy, jtinvest.algo?
The current plan is first half of 2022.
Okay.
Still, which gives some leeway. But I mean, these are it's pretty involved, the contracts, and I'm touching almost every aspect of the contract architecture between smart signatures, local state, global state, all kinds of different escrow types. It's interesting. I think I was talking to someone, Algorand, who thinks might have one of the more complex systems out there, actually, which will be interesting. But so it's a lot of work, and our UI team isn't full time yet. They start probably first of the year, so hopefully that we'll start really ramping things up.
Awesome.
I've made really good progress in the contracts. I'm quite far along, actually.
Awesome. That's great to hear, because I know if anyone like me out there, we're kind of excited to jump on that and snag those right away before there are any potential land grabs, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
You don't have one. You don't have one reserved for you?
Well, yeah, I think the transaction we tweeted something about that, because we were getting a lot of people kind of backdoor asking, like, hey, can you reserve
people in
this
the
one for
DMs
me?
just like begging, like, when whitelist, this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, okay, no whitelist, all right. So that's what we decided, and we just gave ourselves each one name, so we just took our own names, and we think that's pretty fair, and we'll just participate in the auctions like as everybody else does.
Yeah,
like if we want,
I'll be buying, like just John was saying, it's like I could see like having like Patrick.algo or something for like my NFT gallery or whatever, and or yeah, just more like a main profile page. But then I would have tons of kind of because I create app specific wallets. So I have like my Yieldy wallet, my TinyMan wallet, all that kind of stuff, where I create hot wallets for specific cases that I keep separate. But keeping track of those is kind of a mess. I would love to just have some goofy thing, and you can just pick a random phrase, like my mouse has a black cord.algo, just random gibberish, right? That you can remember, that no one would ever associate with you. And so big long names like that, you'd be able to buy very, very cheaply. And I might have 10, 12 of those, right? But then that way, if I need to send from an exchange or from somewhere else, I can send to that NFD name and not have to dig out like which app specific wallet that is.
I thought I had
Doge,
a lot of wallets by having
$1,000.
about 4 or 5 wallets, but you're definitely gonna blow me out of the water if you keep them all app specific, especially as more and more apps are launched over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Do you plan to keep that strategy going if you're using like 30 different apps?
Oh, I, I don't know. Maybe John can get into some of his strategies, but I have started to like my I want to say my Tiny Man wallet has gotten mixed a little bit, but in general they're pretty distinct. I probably have 10 maybe.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. I have like, I don't even know how many wallets. Probably just on my MyAlgo, like I probably have like 20, and then that's not even all my Algo wallets though. And then yeah, I don't know, like 10 ETH addresses. But yeah, it's a safety thing, right? It's like if one of those wallets get compromised, then only those assets are, you're diversifying your risk, and yeah, that's why I do it. I don't want all my assets compromised. I keep my NFT wallet like very, very secure because I really care about my NFTs. But like, my Tiny Man wallet, like I don't really care that much about my shit coins. I don't keep that much money there. So yeah. But yeah,
Well,
I suggest everybody keep like a series of like hot, warm, cold wallets, just for, so you don't get wrecked on like one bad contract or something.
yeah, for sure.
Don't link them.
Yeah, yeah. There's some validity to just going from an exchange to like mix your money and then sending it, so people can't just track your movements across like, the chain. I do mix wallets, but it's only like my hot and warm ones. I don't mix like, never ever send anything to your cold wallet or it's just going to be exposed. But yeah.
That's true. That's fair. I have mixed my Yieldly and Tiny Man wallets.
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
so easy to just yeah, but I get it. I do get the concern for sure. But that brings us to the next topic. Unless any of you have anything to add about Transaction Lab and NFDs, we could segue into NFTs. I know John is very big into the NFT space. I personally haven't dabbled too deep into the NFT space. Obviously, I have some utility NFTs like what Lofty AI is doing and what Opulus is doing, although some argue that what Lofty is doing isn't really an NFT, but that's a whole different
Yeah,
topic. But
tokenized ownership. But I love Lofty.
I love
They've done an amazing job. I'm really impressed with their execution. To be honest,
I
I really
completely
like this
agree. It's one of my most used platforms aside from like outside of crypto. It's been so nice to be able to diversify, collect that passive income. But but anyway, John, do you have anything in particular in the NFT space that you have your eyes on currently? Are there any really exciting projects that you've been watching, or anything in particular about the NFT space that really excites you?
I will refrain from shilling too hard.
Of
So
course, yeah, no,
I
no
won't.
shifts.
Yeah, I won't just name drop people. But what I would like to talk about is like the algo NFT like space as I see it right now, and I think a lot of people are like kind of worried that the liquidity is drying up or something. And it's kind of funny because it's like the liquidity was only really there 1 month in November when there was a bunch of big like buys going on. So like if they're talking about that liquidity, it's like that's not the actual market, right? Like there's some outside people coming in, dropping a shit ton of algo, skewing the market so it looks like it's just going straight up in a parabolic line. But that's not like sustainable. Like you need the organic growth like you're seeing on like Solana. And we'll get it eventually. Like there's already people every single night in spaces, like ETH people and Solana people. They're coming over. They're learning about Algorand. So I see 2020 or 2022, I mean, as like huge for algo NFT space. It'll kind of be like the make or break. I kind of see it as that because all the marketplaces will have had time to build it out. So I'm super bullish on the algo NFT space. It's kind of like very early ETH vibes, but Algo has the advantage of all the NFTs as of right now are like layer one assets. They're not
Yep.
they're not like contracts, and they're not like yeah. So there's a lot of advantages to trading NFTs on Algo, aside from just a cheaper fee, you know.
Now, one of the main concerns I've had with NFTs, or at least JPEG NFTs, is essentially, when you look into it, you're pretty much buying a token that within it has the URL to where this image is hosted. It could be an IPFS link, it could be a Google Drive link, who knows what it could be. Is there a concern that after you purchase an NFT, whoever is hosting that image or whoever paid to host that image could just change the image, remove the image, not pay to renew the domain or whatever it might be? Is there a storage solution on chain that could be had?
I mean, you do see things like what's it called, Arweave, Patrick, that
Yeah.
like yeah, there are some like kind of on-chain data solutions, and you could actually store an image directly on chain. Like that's also possible, but it's fucking huge, right? Like so it makes no sense to do.
Yeah.
Like they thought about doing this on Ethereum way back when, like let's just store it on chain, but then they were like, oh wait, it's not going to work.
Horrible.
So yeah, they built standards, right? Like specs around like what is the most efficient way to build and compile this data. And like on ETH, they kind of have it figured out. Like they store a shit ton of data in those contracts. Like Patrick was showing me the other day, like how big those contracts are. And then you look what like an Algorand NFT looks like at this point, and it's like they're very, very different things. So I could see the Algorand NFT space evolving drastically in like a year or two on the tech side, on like what is actually in that piece of data. Chris Swenner is working incredibly hard on this. He keeps calling them smart NFTs. So yeah, if you're interested, highly suggest go listen to him. He has a YouTube thing. He talks a lot about smart NFTs.
Awesome. Yeah, I've
But
spoke to
yeah, I
Chris a
mean,
couple times.
I was to say I can just chime in a little bit on the storage thing. I mean, like most things use IPFS. It's a really good system, but what I think people don't understand is someone still has to pin that content. It's almost like a BitTorrent, right? Is it's like you can have all these peers providing that content, but if everyone stops peering and the original seeder stops, it's gone. So IPFS is kind of the same way, where someone, there has to always be at least someone who has that content pinned and accessible. And so, however you mint the NFT and store the metadata and image, someone needs to pin that and keep and basically promise in a sense to pin it forever. And Arweave is just IPFS, but it's just you're paying, in another token for their promise to store it, to pin it. But ultimately, it's just if you there's multiple services that will pin it, like a Pinata, things like that, that have a lot of free, provide free services up to like a pretty good size, and you could just upload it through them, keep it pinned through them, and then you can set up your own node, pin it as well, and you're probably good forever almost.
Now, is there another concern with NFTs where I could create one and link it to the same link that another NFT was linked to, essentially? So pretty much almost create a copy of it?
Absolutely. You see this all the time in real life too, right? Like counterfeiting is
Of
not
course.
new to blockchain. But yeah, it just makes it incredibly easy, right? When your asset is a link. But that does not mean that it has the same value. Like if it was not the creator that put it out, right? And then if there's not provenance to draw it to that creator, like if you can't trace it back to the creator, then it's not theirs. So the blockchain is good in that way, where you can always just check the ledger, right? And if this person says it's their wallet address, then you got the real one. If they say it's the real one, you got the real one. But that only goes like, so far, I guess. But
Yeah, you can't fake a sending address on the
yeah,
blockchain, right? If address A minted that NFT and sent it to you, then there's no faking that. And then the issue is whether or not is that address the right one of a given artist. And ironically, it's something that NFTs could help in,
Yeah.
right? Because you could have, Algorand.algo, you could have an artist's NFT, and they could say, this is my NFT, and the wall addresses assigned to it that we verify that they actually own those, stored in the NFT, could represent the identity of the NFT artist, right? And so you could say any NFT that has a reverse lookup back to the Algorand.algo NFD, that they created that.
Oh, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So one of the things that actually really interests me about Algorand compared to Ethereum, especially in terms of NFTs and just random scam coins in general, is the fact that you have to opt into an asset. So you can't just be spammed with a bunch of NFTs, or like a big promoter or celebrity gets, sent a bunch of NFTs, and then whoever created them was like, hey, look, they're a holder of these NFTs. They have values. You can't really do that on Algorand because the receiver has to opt into that asset, which is really nice, especially because I do worry that since some of those URL addresses could be changed, like who knows if the image ends up being changed to something rather inappropriate or even illegal, and then gets distributed to a bunch of wallet addresses. So that's certainly something that is of concern, but not too much of a concern on Algorand, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Could you repeat that really quick? I'm sorry, I just got distracted.
Yeah, well, you know how we were mentioning that the images or the metadata is held on a storage system like IPFS or Google Drive. What happens if somebody purchased an NFT, and then whoever put that data up there on IPFS changed it and switched it to, even a picture of a rug or a picture of something that
Yeah,
is
you
kind
can't.
you
Yeah,
can't?
as I say, you can't with IPFS. It's
Okay.
immutable.
Okay.
So basically, the raw bytes, like if I have a JPEG or PNG or whatever, the raw bytes of that is hashed. The hash of that is the content ID in a sense. It's a content addressable system. So that hash is what uniquely identifies that data and can never ever be changed.
So is that something NFT collectors should look out for when they're purchasing it, that
100%.
the image link is to an IPFS or something similar rather than something that could be changed like a Google Drive?
I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like it kind of, like there's different types of NFTs too.
Yep,
It's nuanced, right? Like
of course.
there's like mutable NFTs where, as a part of like a game or whatever, they mutate, right? They change. So there has to be there's specs for mutable NFTs, or the metadata can be mutated through additional transactions, or it's pointed to a mutable link. But then for traditional like art as an NFT, that you really would want that to be 100% immutable. Like you'd want IPFS link to metadata, IPFS link to the image of a very high resolution, preferably, and you want that 100% immutable in IPFS.
Makes complete sense. And I just want to let everyone know who's listening in the comments that I am looking at the comments. I know some people have some questions. We'll be doing probably a quick 10-minute session at the end going over all the questions. If you have any questions, just leave them down there. And that'll bring us to our next section. Let's talk about DAOs. So I know, John, you're big on DAOs. I'm not sure about you, Patrick. How intrigued by DAOs are you?
Myself, I think
Yeah.
they're fantastic. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on with them.
Awesome. Awesome.
But
So I guess the question
my world right now is smart
is,
contracts. So
yes, for sure. That makes sense. But I guess the question I'll pose to both of you is, what are the biggest benefits of creating a DAO, or what are the biggest benefits of participating within one?
Yeah. I guess I'd say the biggest benefit of participating in a DAO is the collective incentive, right, that you have to participate in it. Um, it's unlike other organizations. Well, I guess it's pretty similar to like a corporation where you get issued stock in the corporation, that you have like an incentive to build this thing, like build value, right? Accrue value to the DAO. That's usually the purpose of DAOs. And I've been a part of a few on like ETH that wasn't the point of the DAO. The point of the DAO was to enrich like the people holding the most tokens. That's not a good DAO, in my opinion. A true DAO needs to be properly decentralized. Like it's the first word in decentralized autonomous organization, and it's also the most important word, in my opinion. So if it's not really decentralized, it's not a DAO. Autonomous, as of right now, we actually can't do on Algo because we don't really have like a on-chain voting system built out aside from the Algorand on-chain voting system. Like there's no white label DAO right now that people can just spin up. This is something we definitely need because you're seeing like these niche DAOs start to appear like in Discords and stuff like that. And this is the exact same way it started everywhere else. Like on every other platform, this is the same thing that happened. They like you collect on Discord and then you actually build the tooling that you need. And then you actually have real on-chain DAOs. And so there's some really exciting projects on Algo, like working towards this. And I'm a member of a few of them. But again, I'm not going to shill. So I'm going to refrain from listing them.
No, that makes sense. I mean, you brought up a good point too. Well, you labeled them as bad DAOs, but I do worry, at least with certain DAOs, that there might be too much of an economic incentive to promote the DAO. So there might be inorganic growth around certain ideas that wouldn't have necessarily grown to such an extent without the economic incentive to pump the DAO token essentially and become a holder of the token and a member of the DAO. But as you said, I mean, there's going to be good and bad projects with anything.
Anything can become a cult, right? Like any project can become a cult. Like you see it all over Twitter. Like there are brainless shills pumping things that they know very little about, but they have a big bag of it, and all they want it to do is go up. And they will do anything, they will say anything to make it go up. But I don't think that's being a good DAO participant, and I don't think it makes people want to join the organization or help it in any way. Like you want the organizations you're a part of to do something good that you want, right? So like the organizations I'm a part of are like art focused because I want to like grow the art space on Algorand and help new artists and stuff like that. And then Algorand itself is a DAO, which, you know, I kind of believe in like the monetary policy behind like crypto, and Algo is just a fantastic protocol. So kind of those two things is why I'm here and in participating in the DAOs actively. Like I'm, you know, I have a wallet for governance, and yeah, I it's amazing, you know. And I'm Algorand itself, I think, is a good example of like what we should all be striving to do as DAOs. Like you may start centralized, but there you actually can become decentralized over time. Like it, you know, we'll see. I would like to be able to put proposals forward. That's my biggest thing. I don't think you're a true DAO until you can actually propose votes. But
no, I agree. At least with Algorand governance, it almost felt like the American election where you're just given these two choices and nobody really asked for the two choices and you're voting between them. But I'd imagine it's just growing pains, and I do foresee that they're going to have you know, a way for us to propose things to vote on. So I'm not too concerned on that in the long run. But I completely agree with you. Now, what? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a really interesting experiment to see how many people actually dropped out of governance. Like I totally wasn't expecting that. I don't know if that's because of market conditions. Like people need liquidity for whatever reason. Like I don't know why you would pull out like 90 million algos, for example. Like I'm pretty sure the person with 90 million algos like has enough like financial prowess to like manage their money for 3 months.
It could have been.
I don't know how you could need it, right?
I'm sure there are various reasons. I mean, some of it could have just been a mistake.
There are.
You know,
there are definitely there are
you know,
these
just
weird
sending
reasons.
one too many algo. But But yeah, I completely agree with you. Are there any particular DAOs that really excite you? I know we have the Green Climate DAO coming from Climate Trade. I know Kimball Musk just launched a DAO. I'm not sure if it's on Ethereum, but I believe it also has something to do with climate change. So there seems to be a lot of a lot of big DAOs being announced. Is there anything that catches your eye that's not in the art scene?
Yeah, sure. So I participated stupidly in a little thing called the Constitution DAO, which you might have heard
Yes.
of.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I put point 0.1 ETH in, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just round it off at point 0.2, and that was an interesting experiment. It was kind of cool to be a part of that, but like I wish I had my ETH back, and how they kind of went about like the multi-sigs of that. It was not truly decentralized. Like it was a group of friends. So like, and they were all the multi-sigs on it. There was like a few that weren't like in this friend group. I don't know. The whole thing was kind of just messy, and I kind of felt like I was getting rugged, especially since we didn't win. And then after the whole thing, there was a big conversation about like, okay, if a DAO is collecting all this money, let's call it algo, to buy something, right? You can look at that wallet address and see how much they have. And then so you could always just, you like, if there was somebody that just wanted to screw this DAO over, you could always just like bid $1 more than them, right? So I don't know. I think there's some interesting like game theory about how this is gonna go, but there might have to be like a secret pool that like DAO members put up on the side to ensure that like, okay, say the Constitution comes up for sale again and it's $30 million, and they say, oh, we only have $30 million, but then there's all these DAO members that on a moment's notice could put down another 10 million or something to make
Yep.
sure that they, I don't know if that makes any sense. But I think DAOs are like just starting to really, yeah, like we could see a lot. We could see
Yeah.
a lot of crazy
They're,
things happen.
they're certainly in their infancy. A couple things that really interest me with the potential for DAOs are like, health insurance DAOs, where people pool their money to distribute to people that need healthcare or something, or even a DAO for a labor movement. So maybe the future of labor unions could be within a DAO structure, or a whole bunch of ideas that we don't really see happening currently. But it's as we've just spoke of, it's still very early, so it's truly interesting to see how this entire landscape will continue to evolve. But just wrapping up, why did you guys choose to build on Algorand? Is it just because you loved Algorand, which like Algorand needs this, so let me build it on top of it, or did you have the ambition to build on blockchain and then decide on Algorand?
Um, I would say for me, it's just because it's playing around with a lot of these different systems, just falling in love with Algorand's design. It's just a really, really good consensus model. It's super fast, super efficient. Transactions are fixed fees. You don't have arbitrary scaling gas fees. You don't have transactions that fail and you lose your funds. I mean, that still just blows my mind that on Ethereum you can have a transaction fail and you not get your money back. It's just insane. So Algorand, it's the smart contract language is more involved, but it is part of why you have the efficiency.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic chain. I mean, I'm going through some pain with the contracts, but the end result I think will be fantastic.
Yeah. And to not reiterate everything Patrick just said, I fully agree that it's an amazing chain, but I really, I'm one of those people that like likes to be so-called early, right? So like if there's something that I feel like I'm very early in, I will stick around. And that's kind of what happened when I found Algorand. Like I went on the Reddit, there was nothing going on, right? That's a good sign that either this thing sucks or you're early. And
Yep.
so I was like, okay, well, it doesn't suck because I went around and screwed around with it, and it's amazing, right? Like it just works so seamlessly every time. Um, so yeah, it doesn't suck at all. And so I thought I was early, and this was like in March, right, of like 2021, and it's December, so uh, it hasn't been very long, and we've grown a lot. and the price has also like, almost doubled since I got in. People forget that like algo has moved.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not like a AVAX where it goes from like $5 to, 130 or whatever the hell it's at right now.
Although I do think that could be upon us. I mean, I think a lot of what these smart contract L1s are valued on is their TVL, and with all these new dApps like Algo Mint and AlgoFi, we're able to port that liquidity over from Bitcoin and Ethereum. Glitter Finance is going to be launching, so we'll be able to port that liquidity over from Solana, leverage it up, and then supply TVL to liquidity pools on Tinyman or any other DEX that comes up. So I think our TVL is about to shoot through the roof, and then there's going to be no way they're going to be able to ignore Algorand. So I'm truly excited for that. But let's see. How about
Yeah,
we
I was
move
gonna say,
on?
I definitely want to get this in the questions, but I'll say 100%. Like AlgoFi is gonna just skyrocket
Yeah,
because
it's
as more arbitrage comes, as more TVL comes in, where you've got like 0.001, 0.003 for these sort of transactions compared to ETH, it's just gonna go insane. I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we don't have too many questions over here, but I've pinned a couple that I've seen. If you see any that
Yeah,
I
I was scrolling
don't read
through and
off.
I saw a number that I kind of wanted to address.
So
Like,
which ones are you looking at?
yeah, I'll just kind of just go through some of them really quick. As far as when should we put NFTs work as regular URLs, that probably would not be part of our MVP. But it's something that would be able to be addressed pretty quickly because it's a pretty straightforward plugin. So that's one of those things where it's like, we could just assign someone to that for a little bit of time and you'd be able to get something pretty quick. So that shouldn't be too difficult to add. There was,
I've got one right here
yeah.
from
So Ted was asking, do you see someone buying a personal algo address to show off their NFT collection, or do you plan on this being primarily enterprise uses? I see it for all the above, really, like 100%. I would want to and expect that NF domains, the kind of landing page for your NFD, should be able to be a kick-ass profile page. Like I would really like for any addresses you have associated there for it to be like, you want to show off your NFTs, just go to your NFT page, right? I would totally see it for that purpose. But I think because it is an easy payment rail abstraction, I also see other even business cases that I think gets ignored in other products.
Awesome. And I see one more here from Paul Hitch. I can't pronounce that. From Paul, we got. Let's see. What do we have here? We got. Not sure if you guys are answering questions. Blah blah
Yep.
blah. Oh,
Yeah, that was a
sorry.
good one. Do it. And we addressed that briefly on Twitter,
Yeah,
but
we
John,
did.
you want to hit that up?
Sure. So the the names are going to be auctioned in like a kind of like an altered Dutch auction format where you need to put up a minimum bid, which is essentially like the floor price. If you're like familiar with NFTs, like the cheapest price that you can get it, which we set the floor. And so you enter that amount and then it starts at the highest price and drops just like a traditional Dutch auction. So it falls over time. And those time periods are different. Um, but we'll get into like more of the details on how they like really work. But that's kind of like the high level of but essentially the rarer the name, like the statistically rarer the name, it will more likely have a higher floor. But that's not unanimously true because there's words like Super Bowl that are like super valuable in their own right. But it's not statistically rare. Like it's a very long word, super and bowl, like neither word is really like crypto related. Like, but yeah. So some of these will sell for like insane amounts and we can't predict that. So the Dutch auction style ensures that like whoever wants it most gets it, because it starts high and then falls. So it's not like it's not an English auction where it starts at the bottom and goes up, where everybody just waits for the last minute to then put in their bid, and you're not getting the market value. You're getting like scrap value almost. You're getting like, bids thrown up all at once,
Yeah, just to outbid
So
somebody.
it's a messy way to do auctions, English style. Like we're seeing this on like other platforms on Algo. But yeah, I'll shut up.
No, that was great. That was perfect.
I was gonna add to that, but if it's not obvious, the key is because there is an actual real tangible cost to creating these contracts because of the storage requirements. That floor price serves a couple of purposes. For one, it's DOS and spam prevention. So someone's saying, I want whatever .algo. So you shouldn't be able to bot attack and say, create 40,000 .algos, have them all go up for auction at once, and have the one you really want hide in the shadows, right? Like there needs to be real cost that you're spending. You're basically promising to buy it at that floor price. So the Dutch auction will start tick down. And if no one bids on it, then you automatically get it because you technically bought it at the floor. But the key is at any point in time, it's effectively first bidder wins. So as it ticks down, and if you want to just buy it now, then technically you can just buy it at the ceiling, right? But then we will also have, so there's different models of the types of names. If it's not in a couple of we have a couple of categories of like curated, reserve, and the common. If it's not one of those categories, like just some big long random phrase, that will just be a fixed price.
Yeah, to answer your question, Paul.
Yeah, that leads to his next question.
Would be flat fee.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that'll be pretty reasonable. Like I said, there is a bare minimum cost that we have to incur on the Algorand blockchain. So I don't want it. I mean, it'll get recorded. I don't want to lock it in on a promise, but right now the target is about 15 algo as the flat fee.
Awesome. Well, I think that finishes us up for the questions. Is there anything either of you would like to add to the discussion we had here today?
Yeah, I see one I want to address real quick.
Did I miss one?
Yeah, Ethan, 22 Ethan said it would be so easy to actually type, for example, John.crypto rather than John.crypto capitalized. It'll all be, the capitalization won't matter. It'll basically be all lowercase, letters, digits, that's it. So you're not going to have dash variations, underscore variations, things like that. So it already is a narrow band. So there shouldn't be too much confusion.
Gotta include there are emojis.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, there's emojis too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's actually good to know too, because once he brought that up, that was a concern, because we see on Twitter people mimicking almost the exact Twitter handle and trying to scam popular Twitter personalities' followers with some crypto scam. So
yeah, if you allow the full Unicode character set, it's really dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else to add?
No, man. I appreciate you having me. And
all right.
Yeah.
This has been a great discussion. I appreciate you both, John and Patrick, for joining me here today. I hope the audience enjoyed what we had to offer. And, if you guys want to come back on the show in the future, once the product is live, I'd love to have you. And on that note, yeah, I really appreciate having you both here.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, hopefully in a few months.
For sure. Happy holidays.
All right, you too.
Take care.
Bye.